Hey, good evening. Mark Gassert. And this is EYP, Elevate Your Profits. And yeah, it's live from Peachtree Corners, Georgia here, peachiest place on the planet. And tonight we have a very special guest, Mark Galvin. But I've got to bring my co-host on here, Tom Ginn, who's going to share with us. Tom, what's up?
Hey, Mark, I tell you what, good. It's always good to see you. And, you know, here in Wisconsin, we are toasty hot.
Oh, man.
Probably hot there in Georgia as well. So
you got it. You got it. We're getting closer to school. My wife, started today, went in. This is their week. The teachers go back this week, and next week they'll be, knocking at that proverbial door right now. And they'll be actually teaching face to face. So they say with a mask. So we'll see how all that plays out.
wow.
And by the way, the doctor said I'm doing pretty good, but, I'll probably have to do a little rehab for my back. But forget about all that craziness. Let's talk about Mark Galvin. Man, this guy has done quite a few things. He is a hospitality veteran. You name it, he's done it in the hospitality industry. You name the hotel in Atlanta, and Mark's probably worked it. I don't know. He might even opened it. But here's the deal about Mark. He is a true giver, and he's always been a person that's curious. And it never, blew me away when he started his ePresence. He's the president and founder of ePresence. He's even got a podcast. How's your ePresence? With that, I've got to bring on the man himself. Hey, what's up, Mark? It has been forever since I've seen you in the flesh.
Dude, you were not supposed to say that you think I worked at every single hotel in Atlanta. That was not in the pre-show notes, man. It's almost true, but you're not supposed to say that.
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
I did spend a little bit of time in the hospitality business. Hey, listen, I make a joke when people ask me what hotel companies I worked for, and I like to say it's easier for me to say who I didn't work for than who I did work for, because I hit them all. I was Hyatt, I was Marriott, Omni, Chateau Elan, Emory Conference Center. Yeah, I went to a lot of places.
Wow.
Holiday Inn.
Yeah. And Mark, before we get into all this, tell us what happened like 11 years ago. You remember we went through that financial hiccup, and how did that affect you? I know how it affected me in the hospitality industry. How did it affect you?
Yeah, so gosh, we're talking what, 07, 08, 09, that time period. Well, what was interesting then is that was when Marriott went through their restructure. And what I did is I got out of the hospitality business and went to a media firm. I went to a group called, at the time, it was called Collinson Media and Events, and they've since switched names to Connect Marketplace. And, I got out of the hospitality business and I went into an industry that was connected, but was not the hospitality business. And I tell you, it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed working there. We put on conferences that brought hoteliers together with meeting planners, and a small firm. It was the smallest company I've ever worked for, with 50 employees. And it was awesome. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So did you ever think in your wildest dreams, now you get out of that? And I always like to ask this question because, Tom talks about the why, but did you ever think, that you would get involved with what you're doing right now? Like,
no,
right there.
Yeah.
Why ePresence? I mean, how did that happen for you?
So there was this, when I was in the hospitality business, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to really, put out my own flag, so to speak. It's a very common term, Tom, in the hospitality business. You always talk about flags and keys. I always wanted to have my own joint. And when you work in a hotel with hundreds of employees, you've got layers and layers of management. And I was a manager. I had people reporting to me in and out of HR with all the stuff that happens, right? It is complicated, right? And it's so complex that I talked myself out of opening my own organization. I thought I cannot be an entrepreneur. It just looks too difficult. When I worked at Collinson Media, now Connect, I saw that, wait a minute, this is doable. And so really the gear started really winding up when I was working there. I had the proverbial conversation with a dear friend of mine. He is a COO of the largest credit union in the state of Georgia. Very good friend, very wise. And that's what we do, right? We call our good friends who happen to be really smart to sit down and have a conversation with me about potential business options. And it was the napkin, no joke. We pulled the napkin out. We've got pens. We're drawing on this napkin. And he said, here's what you should do. You should go out and help people with their LinkedIn profiles because you get it. You understand it. Nobody else wants to do it. They don't have time to do it, but they need somebody to manage that. So I did spend a year researching that. I went around and talked to all my good friends, all my buddies that are executives, and all of them, literally to the person, they said, this is a great idea. You should do it. So that was my market analysis. I went through, after about a year of that time, I sat down and decided it was time to pull the trigger. And I did it. And I jumped out and I started ePresence with the primary focus of helping individuals on their LinkedIn profile. And that's changed. We're now a full service social media agency. We help everybody, you name it, from soup to nuts on social media. We do it all. And honestly, that was for revenue sake. And it was a natural progression, quite frankly. So why did I do it? I wanted Mark, you know how this is. You work in the hospitality business. You work a few hours, right? You don't.
Just a few. Yeah.
So
Lord.
I thought, let's take all this blood, sweat, and tears and invest it in something that would be mine, right? I may not make as much money in the beginning, but long-term it would be worth more than a collective number of hours paid over that same term. That's ultimately was the mission.
And I got another question here, and I'm going to turn this over to Tom because I know he's going to have a few. But I always like to ask this because you talk about this on your podcasts. You have in the past. What can the average person do, Mark, right now? You know, there's a social media boom, man. It's not going away. We're not going to go back to the way it used to be. You and I have talked about this off the 100%. Air. Yeah, and you know, how do you implement like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram if you're looking for an opportunity, if you're looking for another position, job, whatever that case may be out there? And there's some people that are really hurting financially right now because of what took place a year ago, and their business went defuncto. And so, right. What can all of us do to better ourselves on these platforms?
So I do think it's an important thing to mention first, and it is a fundamental decision before you get onto social to achieve an ROI, be it a job, be it a promotion, be it more clients. You have to determine the first thing first, and that is, who's your audience? Who do you want to speak to? And if you think, golly, I'm going to jump into Facebook and I'll spend a ton of time on Facebook, but you're trying to get a CFO position at a company, Facebook's the wrong place to go. Don't spend your time there. Figure out who your audience is, and then you know where to go, which social media outlet you should spend your time on. So, for example, we're working right now, our company's working with a cybersecurity firm. And this cybersecurity firm is launching their company in New York City. Their audience is on LinkedIn. Now, we are pushing content for them to other places, but our focus, everything we do, we put it in the voice of LinkedIn. And there's a voice on LinkedIn. There's a voice for Facebook, and there's a voice for all the others.
Right.
So speak in that language first, and then come back to, and let's use you as an example. I like the idea that you're sharing of an individual. What do we as individuals, what should we do? I would encourage, if you are trying to get a job, if you are jobless, well, you need to be all over LinkedIn, right? So let's just let's put that out there. You got to be on LinkedIn, and you have to realize you've got an audience too. And it really sounds kind of odd. What do you mean? I got an audience as an individual. You do. Who is going to make the decision to hire you, right? So, Tom, I should do this on the financial side, right? Because you came out of the financial space, and there's a person that hires people to say, okay, this is, if you're in the financial space, these are the people that will hire you. And I don't know who they are, so I'm going to talk to Mark, because I know his. Mark, yours in the exhibit space, right? If we were looking at the exhibit business, you got to get past that recruiting HR person. That's
Exactly.
the first person. There's your audience. And you have to think, I've got to get past that very first person. And that person is the recruiting manager, the HR person, whoever is looking at all those resumes, looking at, that gatekeeper. Now, yes, and this is a common thing. Always comes up in my training. Well, once I get past the HR person, it's going to change. Exactly. You set up your LinkedIn profile to speak to the HR person. When you get past them, you go back to it, and now you change it to the next person in line. It is an active process. Your LinkedIn profile is not stagnant. And if you think it is, you're going to be surprised. Well, if you apply it as a living organism, you'll see how effective it is. Here's what you do. On your LinkedIn profile, in the headline, which is that line that shows up below your name, LinkedIn's going to tell you, put your title and your company name there. Everybody you see with a title and company name, it's either two things. Number one, it's they're doing what they're told, or B, they change their title further down in their profile and they hit the default that pushed it to their headline.
Gotcha.
That is not what you want to use at your headline. You want to put in your headline the words that will help people find you and will speak to your audience. I'll give you an example. You look at my profile, my headline has on there president and founder. Why? Because I'm appealing to CEOs and CMOs and the high-level executives. They're going to be influenced. Notice the word, I did not say impressed. I said influenced, because we're trying to influence. They'll be influenced by that title. I know it, without a doubt, right? That's why I was at a job once. They went through and they took all the senior salespeople and they made them all directors of sales, because it'll help them open doors. So think about that. How can you influence people to do what you want? So you want to use a title in there if it's going to influence your audience. And then what words will people use to find you? So for example, if I'm looking for a meeting planner, the meeting planner needs to have meeting planner in their headline on their profile, because that's what somebody's going to search in LinkedIn. Do this. If you're sitting at home right now, open up another window, open a tab, go to LinkedIn, go to the search bar and type a title and hit enter. Do not pull from the pull down menu. Literally hit enter. What will happen is the results will come back with people that have those words in their headline that are second level connections.
Right.
It's the proof in the pudding, right? It shows you that's the result. Okay, great. If you're trying to get a job and the title or the terms or the terminology that these recruiting managers are using are not in your headline, we'll get them there. So that's the first thing. The next is you get to the about section. That about section has got to speak to your target audience. So we're back to the hiring manager. You want to speak to your hiring manager until you get in the door. Once you get in the door, you're going to go back to the about section. You're going to change that and speak to the next manager, whoever is that person you're going to speak to. And how do you speak to them? Easy as this. You state what their pain point is, what it would feel like to solve it, and how you solve it. Because it's about your audience. Mark, if I land on your LinkedIn profile and you say, I'm a great salesperson because I know how to sell ice cream to an Eskimo, right? Great. It's all about you. I really am all about me. No offense, Mark. I like you, but I don't want to hear about you. I want to hear about me.
Right.
Those first lines need to speak to your target audience first. Once you change your LinkedIn profile and you realize that it's actually about the people reading it, not about me, you have a better result. Now, we talk about person looking for a job. Let's say you're in sales. you should put in the top lines of your headline those things that you sell, right? What is it that people buy from you? Why do they buy from you? What are those key terms that they're going to use to search for you? I needed a bookkeeper. I went on LinkedIn and typed in bookkeeper in Atlanta, and I found 2 or 3, and I tagged them. I'm trying to, by the way, I need a bookkeeper. So if you're watching, give me a holler. So that's how I track down bookkeepers. Now, if they had on their title that they were a CPA at LGB Accounting, I'm not going to find them. So if you're selling, if you're trying to attract an audience, put those words that your audience is going to search for in your headline. Then when I get down to the about section, speak to me, right? Your audience. Okay. If I land on a bookkeeper's about section, it says business owners, this would be brilliant. All right. So all you bookkeepers watching, here it is. Business owners want their books to be in order, but they don't want to do it. When this is solved, business owners can worry about growing revenues and figuring out the next strategy. They don't have to worry about accounting. Okay, if that's the first 2 lines on the about section of a bookkeeper, I'm sold. That's me. That's what I'm interested in. So that's a simple example. If you're selling, speak to your audience. Here's something else. Mark, you and I, we're about 30. So we're pretty relevant because we're cool and young.
Yeah.
If you're not cool and young like us, you better get a LinkedIn profile that makes you relevant. So if you're in your 50s, your 60s, and you're still trying to get that next position, you need to make sure your LinkedIn profile shows that you are relevant because you're up against somebody that's younger. Social media is important. All that technology is important. You need to make sure that you're showing everybody that you know what you're doing. Take a couple of these tips that I've just shared, go in and start posting on your LinkedIn profile the things that speak to your audience, not what you want to share. Speak to your audience, share content that's appropriate there, and you will see over time it will start to perform for you. You'll start to have people contact you, like we talked about my podcast. So my podcast is How's Your ePresence? We talk to digital marketers generally, and our goal is to help business people do digital better. How do we help them figure out SEO? How do we help them communicate better? All these different about creative graphics and logos and the voice. What is how do you communicate with a voice to be effective marketers? These are the types of things we talk about. Well, I'm starting to find now that people are hitting me, asking me, this is great, to be a guest on my podcast. Why? It's because we built that the weight around How's Your ePresence on my profile. It's slowly working. This is the greatest thing in the world, Mark. So, Mark, I know you're working on finding guests for your show, which is great. How great would it be if you had 5 people a week knock on your door and say, "Hey, how about me?" Makes your life a lot easier, right? Oh, yeah. You can do that. You just slowly work into all of that content on your profile. You grow your audience, and you'll find that you'll end up reaching more people. So I've talked a lot. What do you think? Does that kind of hit that?
That was tremendous because Ted Legal wanted to say hello, and we have a question for you. And I'm going to share this. This is from Gloria Brown. Gloria, thank you for being here this evening. She says, do you work with individuals? I have a young lady, attorney, looking for a position in a company. She has 4 years working for law firms. What would you suggest here to Gloria and her friend?
So number one, yes, we do work with individuals. It's actually one of the unique things that we do at ePresence because we started working with individuals and then went to company social media. We did not leave that base. As a matter of fact, approximately half of our business is still individuals. So we will, and a little interesting thing here, Gloria, we pick up companies, start managing that company profile, and we ask about the upper level executives. We end up bringing them on, and we start managing their profile so they're all supporting the company brand. So important. But we have a lot of individual people that come to us. We had a COO of a nonprofit in Atlanta. I wish I could tell you, but we signed non-disclosure agreements with people. She did not want anyone to know that we were working with her. She worked with a nonprofit in Atlanta. She wanted to be a CEO. We sat down with her. We cleaned up her resume. We cleaned up her LinkedIn profile. We helped her get active and understand how to communicate.
Right.
She's now a CEO. So yes, absolutely. We help those folks. Now, if she's looking for a position in a company, and I do wonder if she's an attorney, is she looking for a law firm, or is she looking for a company? And there is different messaging there. So she should figure out, what is that message? Who is the person that would let her in the door, that would actually make the decision to move her resume along? It may actually be a CV, but to move that along in that space and speak to that person. So make sure that all that content is focused on that person. And here's the truth. It's kind of hard to come up with, how do I speak to one person? If you can ask someone that is in that space or know someone, then speak to that recruiting style person. It may not be a firm you want to work for, but kind of get a sense. What is it that I should say? If you don't know, just ask someone who's in that space. So speak to that person. Make sure your resume, make sure your LinkedIn profile speaks to that person. And then what you should do is you should start connecting to the people at those companies. So send them a connection request, and maybe they'll accept it. Maybe they will not. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to notice you, because they do. If they don't want the connection request, they have to say no. You're going to pop up on their radar. It doesn't hurt. So those are some of the things I would do. There's an interesting question that I think that comes up here, and that is, should my resume match my LinkedIn profile? No. Your resume is confidential. So if you're in sales, Mark, and it's always easy to do sales. I kind of bounce back there because the examples are just so easy to grab. So let's say you're a salesperson and you grew revenues by $75,000 last year, or if you're a large hotel, $2.3 million. So you can put that on your resume. You don't want to put that on your LinkedIn profile. That's
right.
That's really not information that you should share, but you can say, I grew revenues by 40%, or I exceeded my goal by 30%. Very specific percentages of increase. So you can say that on your LinkedIn profile. So do remember that LinkedIn's public, resume's confidential, but they ought to match up everything other place. The dates ought to match, the titles need to match. All of the real detail should be there, but your achievements, which is what you want on your LinkedIn profile. This is like one big old run-on sentence, but this just occurred to me. Very important. When you're going to your experience and you want to go in and say, I worked for the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta. I was the director of sales for sports in the Southeast, which meant that I booked sports business, and it was large, and blah, blah. Who cares? Nobody. Don't tell me about your job. We already know your job. Tell me what you did that set you apart. I grew revenues in my market by 40%. I was awarded the blah, blah, blah award. I got one up here. I was going to read it, but I won't do it. I was awarded the XYZ award for my great achievements. I achieved the golden circle. That's what you want to say. Don't tell people what your job is. The people that are hiring you know your job. They don't need you to tell them that. So don't waste that real estate. If you feel compelled to describe your position, totally cool. Put that in the about section. Go up to the about section, share all the other things I said. So grab your audience and then start to share what your job entailed. That's fine. Don't do it under each of the positions. Here's something else. You're in sales, right? You're trying to sell to someone. Why would I say that? Because I want to work with salespeople that work hard. I want to buy from a salesperson who is blowing away their goal, because they're blowing their goal because they're good. I'm more interested in working with a successful salesperson. I'm more interested in working with an attorney that's been recognized by XYZ than the attorney that has none of those accolades. So build all that under each of your experience jobs. So it's the experience section. Each job has its own line. Put your achievements. And also, that's how your resume ought to read. Just don't be as specific on your resume. So anyway,
Well,
yeah, if she needed, so back to Gloria, if your friend would like, there's a couple of ways that we can help her. Number one, we have an individual consultation. We can tell her what to do, or we'll do it for her. We have a group of e-publicists that will clean up her LinkedIn profile. Heck, we can activate her. We can get her profile active, and we do it for affordable rates for obvious reasons. So if she's interested, yeah, send her my way. ePresence.me is my website, so you can send her there and check out more.
yeah, I'll put that up here. And whoop, we got somebody else. And Tom, I know, has some questions. I'm going to acknowledge the next person. Gloria, Gloria, I'm going to pop that up there for you, the contact info. So, Tom, go ahead. I know you have questions.
Well, with my background and experience, and the one of the things I always, because our whole elevate your profits is to bring new awareness, knowledge, and expertise for that person, maybe that, like yourself, has been displaced, maybe recognize maybe the first time working from home is a really good place. Maybe how can I take my talents and my skills and create a business? And I think we want to address that here, but I have a question regarding that. You went to counsel. I think that's very important. You shared with somebody you trusted and valued you. You went to counsel, shared your idea, and I think that's important. If you're going to look at it, get that 30 or get a different view and perspective. I think that's a number one thing that you did that I think is important. Would you agree on that that's your first step that you did?
It is important in so many ways. And quite frankly, we could talk about this all night, how important it is to have a person, actually have persons that you can go to for counsel. So our logo, I got my logo here and the company name. I did not make this decision on my own. I came up with a series of names, and I have a group of people that are very wise that I sent those to, and we bantered around before we came up with the name and before I came up with the logo. So it is important not to try to make decisions in a vacuum, but when it comes to, it's not just making big decisions, Tom. You got to have somebody involved in your life every single week that you can pick up the phone, that you can call. And at the end of last year, so I've had a couple of coaches, and one of the things that I thought my coaches were most effective at were helping hold me accountable, helping me stay on target, because I got a little ADD, so I can go chase the silver thing that is grabbing my attention. And so it's good to have a little bit of that. So this last year, I got this planner called a Full Focus Planner, and I sent it over to a person, a friend who's also very effective business person. He and I both use this, and we talk every Friday. He goes over my goals. Here's your goal. How are you achieving this? Why aren't you? And he gives me ideas. He said, okay, if you're not achieving that, do X, Y, Z. Here's another goal. And this is, frankly, this includes personal stuff. Like, so I want to make sure I stay connected to my wife. We're practically empty nesters. Life changes when all your kids move out. And that's part of my goal system. And he asks me every week, okay, how's that going? What are you doing? Are you making time? Are you making those plans? So I think it's important to have, and I call him an accountability partner. He's also a dear friend. So we're also solidifying that friendship, but we talk every week. I do think that it's important to have those people in your lives, especially as leaders in organizations, because nobody's going to, it's the emperor has no clothes, but nobody wants to tell the emperor that. You've got to make sure you've got people in your life that'll tell you you're doing that wrong. And you got to be willing to take that information.
Yeah, and I picked up on that in your conversation, but also I've heard this many times. I've been in business for myself, and I help them identify maybe going into business, doing different things. And many times I hear people say, "Well, you can make a lot of money, or you can," and then they're focusing on the wrong thing. You can make a lot of money, but if it doesn't satisfy an internal value system and belief system, and something that you can hang your hat on and be proud of. So what was your why? I call that your why. Why do you do what you do? There's a lot of people in the social media industry. We
Right.
get bombarded daily. So I think that what you were saying about your race, why you? What's your why? Why do you do what you do in relationship and differentiate yourself from the pack, the herd, or what do you want to call that?
Yeah.
So what was your why? What was your big why?
So way back in the early days in my hospitality career, I worked for Hyatt Hotels, and this was back where literally the hotels were manual, and Hyatt rolled out a property management system, and I was on the team that rolled that thing out. It was the greatest job. I literally still think about this job with such fond memories. We went to a hotel, we installed the computer system, and we trained the staff. And I couldn't do it today, but I went to 33 different Hyatts in a year and a half. I saw all four corners of the country. It was wonderful. I found out that I thoroughly enjoyed the technology and the training, the blending of those two things, and working with people in a way where I helped them understand something that they know that was really important to them. What this job does, what this company does, is allows me to exercise my desire to connect with people, because I do enjoy connecting with people in a different level, not just the shaking the hand, say good to see you and moving on, but I have deep conversations with people. My conversations are challenging, as a matter of fact. So there are people I talk to, and I'm often really drilling into, why are you doing this? Are you sure this is the best thing for you? If it's the best thing for you, why do you think it's the best thing? And this really drilling into that. And I enjoy helping people in a way that can be challenging to them, but also they needed somebody to ask them that. And so I appreciate that so much. I love it. It's my biggest challenge is I'll get on the phone and talk to somebody for too long. So I've got to make sure I put bookends now on conversations to make sure I'm effective in other things. So I thoroughly enjoy connecting with people, and I love working with technology, because I do believe I call myself, Tom, I call myself a professional user, because I love using all this technology. And it's just a lot of fun to be able to share that with other people and help them. Like, everything I talked about at the beginning of the show, I loved sharing all that information. I love just giving it away. It is so much fun to share all the stuff that we're learning here at ePresence, because I know it helps people. So that's really the why. It is so gratifying to have a client. Like, we're working with a group in Atlanta called Dynamo Swim, and their social swim centers, actually, their social media is up thousands of % in the last few months. That is so gratifying to know that we're making that type of impact and truly helping people achieve what they were trying to do without us. That's great stuff.
I'm going to just say this. You mentioned, in LinkedIn, and I want to talk that specifically. And I know technology. I'm sort of I'm a user. I use a Hippo video in my emails and communication and that. But with LinkedIn, Hippo, and I just want to get clarity on this, because I want to be effective, and I don't want to be a spammer, and I don't want to be, I don't want to tarnish my message with that. But are you familiar with like Hippo and some of these things where you can connect and actually instead of typing a connect text, but actually do a video? What's your thought on that? What precautions? Is that a good strategy? Just that's for my benefit, as well as some of the people out there that are using Hippo.
That's good. So I'm not specifically familiar with Hippo, and I'm typing it up as we go here. But I love video. There is in LinkedIn, and I do this frequently. And so I've got this on the screen here. I'm going to check that out. There is a function on LinkedIn where you can send a message and record a video. And I constantly encourage people to do that. If you're trying to break through to someone,
Right.
Sending a video in LinkedIn messaging is brilliant. It will get your attention. And here, why do I know this? Because it happened to me. There was a guy in Australia, as a matter of fact, who he and I were connected on LinkedIn, and there was some messaging going back and forth, and I was a little suspicious. I don't want to tell you. I was like, who is this guy? Why is he, what does he want? What does he want? And it was really, is it about me? Is it about him? He sent me a video text that said, Mark, and it was an Australian. I don't know how to do an Australian accent, but imagine that, right? Australian accent comes out and he goes, Mark, I'm so glad to connect with you. I'd like to have a chat. I think you're doing some neat stuff on LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. If you're interested, let's meet and do this. And it was overnight, of course, because he was up. I got that. I was blown away. I was like, that is the coolest thing in the world. So yes, personalized video makes a huge difference because nobody else is doing it. Really. Yeah. And you talk about Hippo and you say there's a lot of people using it, which is great. It is a great way to connect with people because it does break through the noise. 100%.
Yeah, I've been using it. It's radically changed my response on my emails and using that in that platform there. I just wanted to see what you had. And because I use it, I always promote it out there. It is an affiliate program. So if you decide that's something you want to look at, I'll send you my link.
Awesome.
Okay.
Send me your link.
I'll send you
it
the
to
link.
Me. Whether I use it or not, I need to know about it.
Sure. Yeah. And there's some significant people that are behind it that you would know on that. So I'll let Hippo speak for itself. Cool. But it's well worth it. There's a lot of other video platforms out there. I've tried many of them, but this is the most robust for everything you want to do with video in one place. So
cool.
That's enough of that pitch. But go ahead, Mark.
Ron Goodwin.
That's the sales guy coming out of me.
That is great. Ronnie Goodwin here. I call him Mr. Boston Celtic, Mr. Boston Red Sox, Mr. Boston. Ron Goodwin has his graphics. He's in the graphics industry, but he's a business owner. He goes, Mark Gassard Sales Concept, Customized Effective Training does it. He's talking about Hippo, So it does work. It gets at least top of mind where someone will look at an email, Mark, and see there's a video there and say, okay, yeah, I remember you, or and I get
really? That's great.
We've all been down that road, but they'll say, hey, now's not a good time, but that's okay. You got and found something out. So 6 months, we go back and revisit, and a little dialogue, and they appreciate the video and they're not upset.
So I'm gonna tip my hat to my my past boss at Connect. Ray Ezel used to say this. He did not coin the phrase, but he was the first one that said it to me, and it was nobody likes to be sold to, but everybody loves to buy. And that the way that you can use social media to stay in front of someone so that they remember you when they're ready to buy. I think that's an important part of social when it comes to
I believe Jeffrey
selling.
Gitomer claims that quote there, nobody likes to be sold, but or
that's
where I'm going. Yeah, it is. It's a Gitomerism. And Ron, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah. The one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I know you do read, you're an avid reader, you do things. So when you talk about like this right here, books, your network, your affiliation, association, your caliber of people you hang out with, what type of books do you read, or what gets you going in the mornings? Do you have a ritual, routine? I always like
geez.
Do you have something?
I cannot I have my ritual broken out on my phone so that it hits me because I get up, I work out, I spend time praying, I got to eat breakfast, I got to be in the shower at a certain time because my wife's got to organize all that. So I get up at 5 and I want to be in the office by 7:30 and I want to work out for 45 minutes. All of that builds into the day. So I have it regimented in such a way that I even check off myself in the morning on my daily routine. Like, did you get everything done this morning? And then I have an opening routine when I get to the office. I do not turn this thing on until I finish everything else. So I write out all my stuff before I turn on the computer, because as soon as I turn on the computer, I'm going to get an email and I'm gone. So I write everything out. So that's the ritual piece is an important part. Yeah, when you talk about books and things that I'm reading, there's a few books that I think are very important out there. One of them is Chris Voss has a book called Never Split the Difference. I've got it here. I'd show it to you, but it's yellow, so it messes with my green screen. So Never Split the Difference is a great book that talks about how you don't have to give up and split the difference to get a sale. And he goes through in detail. And this guy came out of the FBI and learned how to negotiate with people. And his negotiating style is brilliant. It's one of those books that you read multiple times. Another one that I've read, this is so perfect for my space.
And the author on that is Never Split the Difference. Who's the author?
Chris Voss, Voss.
Okay.
Absolutely terrific. So the next author and
look at Ron. Ron is like on top of game here. Chris Voss is the real deal. See, Ronnie's reading that book. He probably has already read it, knowing Ron.
That's right.
Just real quick before I got to acknowledge some people here, Mark. They're popping on. Ernest Odell. He says hello. He shared this to us, and let me tell you where Ernest is from. You know, he's from Lubbock, Texas. He's rocking the house. So he's making it happen. He's doing his thing. And, there's a bunch of people popping on here. And just so we're all square, that was a Jeffrey Gitomerism that you were talking about.
Oh,
being
good.
Sold and selling. And he's coined that phrase. It's in his book, The Little Red Book of Selling. So
that's interesting. Now I have read that his first book of his series, because he had like 3 or 4 of those books, maybe 5.
Oh man, he's got the Book of Yes.
They're all great books.
He's got a whole volume. He's got like over 15 books, man. He's written.
Oh wow.
Jeffrey Gitomer's a monster. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So the other one I want to plug that I really like is Eric Qualman, and so it's Eric Qualman, Qualman, and his handle, and Tom, we were talking about handles earlier today. His handle is Equalman. He was born with the perfect handle. E. Qualman comes to Equalman. So that's his handle. He came out with this book called The Focus Project, and I'm in the middle of reading this, where he interviewed all these executives from these major companies all over the country, and it's a 12-month program. So it's like a 12-step program. He outlines every month new ways to help you stay focused, which for me is absolutely terrific. There are so many other. You may give the name again.
Qualman or Qual?
Eric Qualman. Equalman.
Okay.
The Focus Project is the name of the book. So that's a good one. I love that now. He's a great guy to follow on social, as a matter of fact. He has a couple of YouTube videos that are really awesome that talk about how social media is changing the landscape. And then this is the last book that I want to mention, and you know how we all are. We're all reading these books like crazy. There's this book called The Revolt of the Public. And this was written by, what's the guy's name? Garrick. Give me a second. I'll pull up the guy's name. And his book is Martin Gurin. Martin Gurin, Gurin. He talks about how technology is changing the way we see our leaders, the way we see the way we consume news, the way how even social media has become the most important part, how we get our news from social media. This guy is someone who saw it coming, and he describes it perfectly. So it's Martin Gurri, Gurri, The Revolt of the Public. That book is absolutely terrific. A little academic at the same time, but to me, for my space, very interesting because how it's changing everything that we're doing in technology. Now, you talked about associations, and there's something I want to mention. when I was in the hospitality business, there were a few associations that we were all familiar with, right, Mark? You and I could
Right.
probably name them, but what it did is, it's interesting how when we get into our associations, our professional associations, we really don't veer far outside of that. So we developed this whole ecosystem. When you're running a company like I'm running ePresence, I had to find new networks to get involved with. And in
Right.
Atlanta, there's a group called Power Core, and it's a networking group. We meet once a week, every Tuesday morning. So tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., we will meet, and we meet for an hour and a half. And the goal is to send leads to each other. So everybody's responsible for sending referrals. Now there's lots of, BNI is the same sort of thing. There's lots of things like out there that's like this. If you're in a space where your target audience can be reached through these types of networks, you ought to be in one. I'll guarantee you there's one out there that you can find that'll help you connect with other people. And what's great about these is they grow your network exponentially, which is so important, because it gives you another marketing tool to help market to many in a smaller group. So you've got to have that referral network. You've got to have your digital marketing. You got to have your print marketing. You got to have an email database for folks you're emailing. You have to all of those things. And that's been something that I've had to learn, quite frankly, the hard way with ePresence, because I never had to worry about all that when I worked on the hospitality side. Didn't.
No. Hey, Martin Gurry, Gurri. What was the book again? What was the title of that? I'm just going to pop that up here. What
You're
was it
good.
called?
It's The Revolt of the Public.
Okay.
While he's clicking away on the
Go ahead.
the machine, this is a bit, for myself or anybody out there, this is just a wealth of real solid perspective of things to consider if you're already in business, or you're looking for a career or a job, or making those connections. I just believe what you're sharing today is super powerful. Going back to what really is, I think winning has to do with what's up here in the mind, how your mindset, how do you see the world from your life experiences. You talked about some authors and some books. Is there anybody out in the personal development arena that you lean into? Could it be a John Maxwell, or could it be into, some other influencer in the personal development space? Anybody out there that you really resonate, that it's changed your mindset, or it caused you to grow on the mental side, the belief side?
So, yes, because I'm religious, I'm very involved in my church. I lean more on the religious side, and there's a guy named Bishop Barron, who is a new media kind of Catholic leader. And I listen to him a lot. And the reason is he is able to connect a lot of, the religion. And I think the way you manage your faith is also very conducive to growing your own, growing a business. So that is someone that I listen to a good bit. There's something I should tell you, Tom. There's a lot of negative tones if you just watch the news, and reading the Wall Street. I read the Wall Street Journal every day, and you can pick up a lot of negativity, and from radio. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. If you look at my podcast feed, I think I have about 12 that I listen to every day, and just a regular news podcast can irritate me because I hear what they're not saying, or I hear the language that they're using to describe the news. That can become frustrating. I think it's really important that you have positive influences in your life, and that's that positivity that I get is by listening to him. He helps me dial things into a different direction, so that it really is. I mean, it's hopeful, and I think we should have a lot of hope. And I'm going to tell you what, starting your own company is not for the faint of heart. Well, I have a faint heart. So this is, this is not something that I would have, logically chosen to do. I have to have a lot of hope and be able to see, wow, this first quarter, I lost 40% of my clients when COVID hit because I was heavily hospitality based. I had a lot of restaurants. I lost all those restaurants, obviously. And so we had to reset and look at things differently. If I did not have hope, last year would have been horrible. We ended up having the best year ever last year. Best year ever, because we shifted gears. We started focusing on LinkedIn. We started really driving our podcast. So I think that the leadership people that you can have in your life that you understand, that speak to you, will help you move through some of those difficult times.
Great. You said something there that I believe this. The best personal development book ever written is in the Bible. Everything you need for mindset and it is there. And I use that in my gratitude, plugging my gratitude. I think gratitude is a spiritual principles, and I believe it's the mortar and the bricks of life, and it changes perspective. So, and a lot of things I reference in my program comes out of Scripture. And when you read this, I heard that from somebody took it and used it in their personal development. This, just rechange the words with the same meaning. So,
absolutely,
yeah. So there's truth, and that's law working for you. So,
awesome.
I really appreciate what you said there. That you lean into your faith, and I think that's important. Having hope as well, and knowing where to go to get that resource.
So Tom, I got to tell you something kind of funny. So Mark doesn't know this, but over his shoulder is an image. Ironically, this is in my office, and it's a very similar image to yours. Have you know? So Mark, I never got a chance to really kind of put that out there.
This you talking about that icon up there? Is that what
yes, yes, absolutely, right,
right.
Funny stuff.
Right.
I'm also very involved. I get very involved in the local community, Tom, sure. And so there are a number of people that are people that I can pick up the phone and call and say, I'm having a bad day, right? Whatever that looks like. And I wouldn't say it that way, but I'm struggling with this, and that's really helpful in it. So in Atlanta, and this is true in all states, because the small business, the SBA, Small Business Administration, puts these out there. In Georgia, we've got the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, and it is funded by the state of Georgia. And they are complimentary consultants that can help you grow your business. And I have a weekly call with those guys because I'm looking at growing my company. And I call them and say, how do I do X? What should I do and I'm thinking about franchising. So if I franchise, what do I need to do to franchise? And they are giving me all these free resources. That's just there. So check out the Small Business Development Center in your state, because they do get funding from the state. And in our state, it's run through the University of Georgia. So it's the UGA Small Business Development Center, and it is a terrific resource. So that's also something to look for.
Is that associated with SCORE, the same principle, SBA through the SCORE program?
I don't know the answer to that. I can't speak to that specifically. Is SCORE focused on minority business owners?
No, it's a platform open for, they have people that retired executives and different people. You're looking and they put on forums, workshops, classes. Huh. You can go to, they'll help you write your business plan. They will help you get focused in that. And it's through this Small Business Administration. I think it's called SCORE.
I need to check that out. It doesn't sound the same. These are employed people by the state, and their whole goal is to help you grow your business.
Wow.
Okay, great.
Hey, good. I just want to give some shout outs here again, because
good.
Geez, the guys keep coming at me. Ernest, I'm going to go back. He said live streaming like you guys are doing now is one of the best things that happened to us during COVID. He just put that out there, which is cool. I thank you for that, Ernest. And Ron mentioned about the futures. Yeah. He said, where's it at here? Sorry, Ron, I'm trying to find you here. Happy customers refer. Yep, very good. he mentioned about the future's looking bright right now. I mean, I know we're hearing a lot of doom and gloom in the news, Mark. You mentioned about social media, what we all hear. We're at a point now where we can't have conversations with certain people and disagree and be civil about it. I don't want to use the word hate speech, but people get kind of ignorant in their skull and they're not thinking straight, and they just automatically, if you oppose something, you're a bad, wicked, evil person. And no, that's not the case, but you know where I'm going with this. And
Yeah, I mean, and I do think that this, and it goes back to that Martin Gurry book. When you see what he's talking about, and you find that he's got the proof that what technology has done is it has helped. It has caused us to disrespect authority.
Mhm.
So there was a time where we respected the president. No matter what party they're from, like, okay, there's the president. Sure. Now, social media and technology can help us see all the things that these people have done wrong. And all the people, all their detractors who used to have a really small voice can now have a really large voice. All of these things is sort of a snowball, so that now we no longer respect anybody.
Right.
And so technology has been very good at helping us get more data. It's been very bad to try it's really hurt modern governments because nobody respects their leadership anymore. It's really fascinating. And when he breaks it down, you sit back and realize, and here I am in social media looking at this. Social media is one of those things that can instigate that. There's a woman who is a performer on America's Got Talent. And this was, we tape it. I can't watch America's Got Talent and watch our commercials, but I like the individual acts. This woman got up and she sang a song which she more or less sang the nasty comments from her Twitter channel. It's absolutely hilarious, but it really did put things in perspective of the nasty things that we say to each other online. Why do we do that? We shouldn't. We should be helping each other, not hurting each other. And there's too many of those voices that are loud that really ought to be small, that get a larger platform on social. We shouldn't allow them to do that. We need to figure out a way to culturally share with these people, this is not appropriate. Stop. You can make your point. Tom, you and I can disagree about something. And if we were sitting down over a glass of beer and your philosophy was different than mine, I would ask you more about your philosophy and you'd ask me more about mine. We'd understand each other, but we're not going to go onto our computer after that and say, Tom remarks an ass. We're just not going to do that.
Right.
That's the problem. We have to stop that.
Yeah, you just made something, and I just so we have a responsibility for using social media. Be the light, be the positive, be that, and we can make a change out there and not get hung up into this what I call the drain cycle, is you get flushed down the toilet with everybody else.
Right.
I think we have a responsibility as business leaders, influencers, be the light, be the demonstration of positive and hopeful communication, and respect other people's point of view. And if we can do that in our business, we'll hit home runs all day long.
Yeah, we will. Hey, Mark, click on that comment that Ernest made. The squeaky wheel gets the most attention. All right. Here's what's interesting about this. The algorithms on social media feed the squeaky wheel.
Yes.
So if I post something, some sort of vitriolic, nasty something that is shocking, then everybody starts clicking on it. And when people start reading it, and they just got to read it. By the way, folks, if you're on your Instagram feed and you're paging through and something comes through and you slow it down, I'm not interacting with it. No, you are. It knows you slowed down. So the computer, their algorithm watches all this. The squeaky wheel today is the algorithm is pushing you to it. Now, if you click on that negativity and you like it or comment, you're going to see more negativity. It only gets louder and louder because, well, this is what you like. We're going to share it to you more. So, Ernest, you're 100% right. The squeaky wheel does get the attention. And now that voice is louder because more people see it, because the algorithm sends it to more people. That's what's messed up. Now, I think that it'd be fun to debate. Is that a good thing? And I would argue, no, that is not a good thing. And I feel like that the algorithm should be simply sharing. Tom, if you and I are connected on social and you said something and I want to see what you have to say, then I should see that. I shouldn't see the vitriol that 10 other people think is really awesome in my feed just because they liked it. I think that algorithms need to change for that reason.
Yes.
Great.
And that brings me to my next point. Mark, you are a chair, correct me if I'm wrong, on the stewardship committee at Immaculate Heart of Mary Catholic Church. I don't mean to bang the drum here. And I think you're still involved with the CAB Chamber of Commerce. Am I right on that? You're still involved? And wasn't your business in 2018 recognized as an emerging business, up and coming emerging business?
Yes. So from the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce, I'm not as involved with the Chamber of Commerce as I once was,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because of the Power Core. And I could tell you about Power Core and how involved I am there. It yields a lot more business opportunities.
Right.
I am still very involved at my church, and the stewardship committee is the one that's in charge of growing ministry and bringing more money in, and which is a real challenge today. And we had a meeting recently. I was like, oh my gosh, we're struggling. So that's a difficult thing. And I'm also involved with my high school alma mater, as strange as that sounds, is a Catholic high school.
Marist High School, right?
Yep, that's right, Marist. And I do a lot of work over there because they do good work. And young people, helping young people today understand that a little bit of faith can carry them a long way is, I think, so important.
Yeah. And
thank you.
We're going to have you come back. I mean, we are already at the 7:00 hour.
It is 7:00. Look at that.
I mean, I'm not cutting this off, but the one thing I wanted to point out, like what's now, what's new, what's next, and you mentioned it, and I feel like you do this, Mark, you live it, breathe it, is for the younger people that are out there. You mentioned about Facebook, algorithms, and how this works, and Ernest calls it feeding the spiders and getting attention. You see all this crazy stuff out there just to get noticed, but how valuable is the content? Now that's going to follow you throughout your lifetime. So, do you have a message for younger people that are out there? Sometimes they don't care. They're going to do just about anything, but we're using this as a tool. And I kiddingly say this at my age, Tom's age, not that we're ancient. We have no business doing this because we kind of fell into this. I mean, if you break it down, it's not like we dreamt about it. And these things right here, I mean, everybody's got one. I mean, up until 2020, Warren Buffett just had a flip phone. That's the truth. If you listen to me on Saturday, and it's crazy how this whole phenomenon of the live stream, Facebook, Instagram, they go crazy out there,
And these tools are amazing, right, Mark? They really are just incredible. But your phone, we're slaves to our phone. It commands us and we listen, right? It beeps and we say, absolutely, whatever I need to do, let's respond. We should really figure a way we need to dial that back. And I do like some of the tools that Apple's has on their phones. There's something I think important to mention, and I'll shut up after this because I can keep talking. When we were young, our parents told us at the dinner table that, you say thank you, you say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. That we learned etiquette, right? Sitting around the table, if not from our parents, from someone taught us this. Well, here we are adults, most of us adults, and boom, we got social media. And no one told us when we showed up on this what the etiquette was. Nobody was there to say, don't do this, do that. We need to work our way into, this is what you should do on social, don't do this. I told my son, and he listened. Whew, this was the best thing in the world. I said, when you're dating a girl and you go to her house, you shake the dad's hand, but you make sure you say everything nice in the world to her mom. And then if you really like her, you send the mom flowers because that will seal the deal. And he did that. So he's dating someone now, and this girl's mom called. We met them, and she said, "Your son is unbelievable." See, that sort of thing is smart. We need people in our lives that can tell us, here's how you should act on social, and we need to learn it, and we need to do it right. And we need to isolate the people that are bomb throwers. We can do that. We can say, you're a bomb thrower. I'm going to ignore you. We need to do that. It's just going to take time. I think it's going to happen. I just hope it happens sooner than later.
Right. Ernest made a comment or two. He said, "Don't talk at the dinner table with food in your mouth." Remember that one? Or I remember this: "May I leave the table?
Absolutely.
Excuse, please." And there was a post I saw, and it was a family of 4, and they were all holding their iPhones at the dinner table. And that's a scary
No
thought.
phones at the table. Right.
That's scary, but that's what's happening when you go out in John Q. Public world. Like the other day, I was over here at Peachtree Corners, over here at the Peachtree Corners Center, and we were at a restaurant. I won't mention it. And I was just watching it. It was, it just blew me away. The families and the young kids and there was no interaction, very little amongst them and each other. It just kind of was like, wow. Yeah. So I just looked at my phone and went, "Here, put it in your purse." I don't want to look at it.
Yeah. And so what do you do? Why do people pick up their phone? Is when you don't have anything to say to each other.
Yes.
So if you cannot communicate as a family, everybody's going to pick up their phone. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
well, Mark,
good stuff, man.
I mean, we need to have you come back because there's so much more you can teach us about, what's going on out there in the world of,
Oh, I'd be thrilled to come back. Yeah, you just let me know.
Was he worth bringing in here this evening? Did we learn something?
It's a blessing. I'll just put it that way. Yes, right. I'm very grateful.
No,
you shared with me that this would be a very positive experience, and what you shared, not only some of the things you talked about business and what you're doing, but some of the principles, the ethos that we should be applying in our lives and our business is got to be part of it. It's not just So I appreciate that, and hopefully that reaches out and cause people to only through awareness do we have an opportunity to change or move in the right direction. It's only through awareness. So I appreciate your sharing today. Yes, we'd love to have you back on. I know Mark. You want to make sure you put his contact information up.
I will do that again so everybody can seize it. Anybody that wants to get a hold of the man himself, let me pull this down here. And I had it up here earlier, so bear with me as I'm scrolling here. There's quite a few things and comments. Here we go. How's that looking, Mark?
That's perfect.
Okay, that's
So what you've got here is you got my universal social media handle. So ePresence MG is my handle everywhere, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. It's the easiest thing. It's easy on old guys like me. Actually, I'm not old. I'm 30.
He is.
Because I don't have to remember that much. I just remember that's the handle. And then our company's website is ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me because it's all about you. And then you can hit me on that that email there. If you want to send an email, info@epresence.me. I get all of those. Those all go directly to me. So yeah, I'd love to talk to anybody and anything, and if you have an opinion about something I shared, rock on. If you are someone that would like to be on my podcast to talk about digital marketing, let me know on that too. It's How's Your ePresence? We're dropping stuff all the time. We're using StreamYard as well. It's why I've got this gig here. So yeah, I'd love to talk to anyone that's interested in digital marketing. It'd be fun.
And to think, Mark, a long time ago, I won't mention how many years ago, I would go at a certain hotel that you worked at, and I think they were on Wednesday mornings, those infamous meetings. And since I was an outside vendor allowed to come in and learn all the inner workings of a hotel, all the lingo you guys use.
Which hotel was that? No joke. Where was that?
It was the Marriott.
Okay. The Marquis.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Downtown.
The largest hotel in the state of Georgia, mind you.
Yes.
It's a monster.
Yeah, it was. And we did quite a few events there, and thanks to everybody that worked there,
Yeah.
And here he goes, quite a bio, Mr. Galvin. That's from Ernest Odell. And Ernest is probably I don't know. He's a young man, a young lad, but no, he's a great guy. Ernest does a lot on Facebook. In fact, he was on earlier today talking about one of his platforms, and everybody's getting wound up about it. I'm sure he'll be
Fantastic.
back, but
Good.
I just want to thank you again, Mark, for taking time. I know you're married, you have a family, you've got other obligations, a business, and Lord knows you could be doing something. And I'll share this with you. Here, he wanted me to pop it up there. I'm old enough to be Mr. Galvin's grandpa. Okay. And here's
I need
another
a
guy.
grandpa. Ernest, reach out.
And that's what I'm saying. This is the beauty of what happened here after the pandemic. I never thought I'd be doing this because you knew me before. There is no way 11, 12 years ago, I would have said, you're crazy. I'm not getting on here and doing this. I'm not going to communicate with customers like, through whether it's Zoom, Microsoft team meetings, whatever it is, or
You and I remember the little talk of, oh, we're going to lose business because people are going to go to video conferencing. And we all
yes,
went, nah,
yeah,
never going to happen.
right.
I don't know.
Oh, that'll be a next subject we can talk about. Is the hospitality industry really back? Trade shows, or is virtual going to be hanging around, or what's it going to be? Because now with maybe the pandemic's going to resurface, how's that going to affect live events?
So I think trade shows are back. I think live events are back. I think business travel never comes back. Never to the same level.
That's interesting. No, and I've heard that before from others.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
So
more effective and efficient to do it this way, what we're doing right now.
I can discuss a proposal like this and see somebody's reaction. It's not as good as being in person, but is it worth $2,000 in travel expenses to get in front of somebody? It depends on the size of the account. It depends. So some people will do it, and I bet the people who show up are going to close the business. So that's the only thing that could change. But hey, listen, I don't want to go meet somebody that's going to sell me something in person. I'd much rather do this. Saves me time.
And with that, the last comment maybe of the evening, business travel is going to suffer as long as some countries and governments require the
That's another
GAP
reason.
passport. Yeah.
Jab passport. So the vaccination passport. I think that is all of these little factors may, you can't be as nimble is going to make it hard. But listen, Mark, you and I were you mentioned my family. I am, if I can spend a night in my own bed and still be as effective, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Yeah. End of story.
Yeah. I've traveled enough out there. I know what's out there, so.
Yeah.
Like you said, we only worked a couple hours in the hospitality industry.
That's right.
They're the most hardest working, productive people I've ever met. I mean that from hotels to whatever, security, facilities. I don't even know how I got in that crazy thing. We used to kiddingly say, you either love this business or you hate it. Right, Mark?
That's right. 100%. And you know what?
There's no middle.
That's right. And there's a lot to love. There is a lot to love,
right.
But it's hard work, period. It's just hard work.
Right. Well, with that, we're going to put you in agreement. If you've got to leave, that's quite all right. Tom and I are going to do some extra things here about our platform briefly. But again, thank you so much for being with us this evening, sharing and educating us. As always, and it was entertaining. So we fulfilled two things I stated. It would be educational and it would be entertaining, and it was both.
Well, I love it. And I enjoyed spending time with both of you, Tom. It's great to meet you.
Yes.
And I am going to go eat dinner. So
you go. You
peace and love. We'll be in touch.
All right. Take care. Thanks again, guys. Mark.
God bless you. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks.
Wow, Tom, what do you think?
It was everything that you pitched me, man. I tell you.
I pitched you? Did I really sell you?
No, you didn't pitch me. I trust what you say, but that anticipation, of what you shared with me from your previous relationship and those type of things. I was excited and anticipatory of today's, and you can see why he's successful. You can see why he's successful. There was a lot of wisdom there. There was a lot of I hope people picked up on some key points, because don't take those principles. I think success leaves clues, and we saw some very significant clues there. So take notice, everybody out there. Share this out with your friends. Share this out with your business colleagues. We don't know who needs this message. So that's my message to our audience. Tag and share your friends with this.
Right. And I just wanted to say to Gloria Brown, I hope we helped you, and feel free, and I truly mean this. That's why we put Mark's contact info up there. Reach out to Mark. He will help you, and he will help your friend. So Mark is a very giving person. He is not up here in his ivory tower. He knows what it's like to want something, to struggle, to go after it, and he's just a quality human being. I mean, I can't say enough about the guy. And I'm really honored to know him, and I call him my friend. We did a lot of things in business. You take people for granted, but now time is so precious, and it was so nice to see him again.
Yeah, first time I met him,
Right.
This afternoon, it seems like I've known him, and I think
Right.
that's about his character and what he puts out there.
Sure.
Somebody you can trust,
Sure.
that type of thing. And I think that's one of the key things is who he shows up as. That's him. He's
Right.
the real deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, Mark, before we forget, though, don't we have something to announce for Thursday?
Oh, yes, we do. Let me pull this up, sir. Now I understand, correct me if I'm wrong before you get into this. Are we now up to 8 pillars in regarding creating a $1 million mentality or mindset or asset? Do you have 8 things that you're going to eventually share with us? Is that true? I heard a rumor.
There's a rumor out there that, I miscalculated or miscounted. So, we actually have 8 principles that it's important to understand how to win financially. And I'll be talking about principles. I've been getting on every day talking about different problems and solutions. And those are just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to covering. And I honestly believe this, in my years of experience. If you don't understand and not implementing or solving these problems, no matter how much money you make in your whether it's a job or whether you're in business for yourself, if you don't solve and be aware of these 8 things, you're doomed financially. I'm not saying you're going to go living in the street, but you're not going to live as profitable as you could be in your life to accomplish your goals. And these are strong principles I've learned. I didn't create any of them. I just learned from the best in the world. And I've applied them in my life. I've applied it in my coaching business. And if you apply and understand these principles, it's a win-win-win. You cannot help but win. So I just encourage people to come on and find out what those 8 principles that you've got to be aware of and be able to solve to accomplish long-term or even short-term financial objectives. So,
And you said it's this Thursday, and that will be at what time? 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time? Okay.
That's correct. And Mark, there's the link. You can go to that link right there. There's a registration link. It's going to be on
Correct.
a Zoom. So please register.
Tom, can I just say something? I know everybody teased me. A couple people teased me about my rant on Saturday, but really what you're teaching people and showing us from things that you've learned from some of these masters is there are ways for, I call it, the average person out there to develop, multiple levels of income and how to get out of debt. And we had an individual on here that talked about being able to do that within 9 years. And this isn't like fantasy land stuff we're talking about. This stuff works, and it's your choice now. And that's all we're saying to you. Take a look at this, and then, if you think we're crazy, that's okay.
Can I just recap something that Bob said the other day? Getting out of debt. Debt is a wealth building strategy. There's a place for it in strategic or whatever, but ultimately, debt service is a wealth building killer. And I love what Bob Hayek said last week. He had one client that had listen to this, folks, $1.2 million in debt. not spending more, finding more resources. He used the existing dollars he had in his business. He eliminated that debt in 3 years of 1.2 million, and he increased his net worth by $500,000 at the same time. I think anybody out there has debt, whether it be personal debt or business debt, should be in touch with us and Bob Hayek. That just blew my mind. And this is not smoke and mirrors. These are principles that people in the know use, and he's bringing it down to me and you, Mark. So those are out there. Join us and get new level of awareness. Right. That's what we're about here for. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
Everybody, I just want to say thank you again, from Ernest to Ronnie Goodwin to Ted. Geez, who else was out here?
Carolyn Brown.
Yeah, Gloria. Yeah, thank you for the questions. Gloria Brown, thank you for the questions. Thank you for joining us, and feel free to share this out to your friends. We'd love to have you come back, and each week we have something new in store for you. And it's this platform, EYP, is about you, and just enlightening people. And and he says here, look at this, Ernest. I'm registered for Thursday. I'll bring the barbecue. Okay, cool.
All right, great. Thanks, Ernest. We look forward to having you on there. Share it out. So, Mark, are we complete right now, or?
I think we are. Are we not complete?
We're complete. Yeah, we're complete. So
I didn't know if I forgot something here.
No, we're good. We're good, my friend.
So I guess what I'm going to do is, get us out of here, I guess, and sign off. And again, we'll be at this again Monday, but don't forget about this coming Thursday, please.
All right.
You'll probably see more enlightening statements from a Facebook perspective, YouTube perspective, even LinkedIn, from what I understand now, right?
Yeah, I'm excited. I didn't realize, I showed up on my StreamYard thing. I clicked it, and I said, I don't know if this is working. And I said it did work. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
I'm excited.
Hey, enjoy your evening, everybody. Tom, as always, it was my pleasure to be here, and always to learn and grow and develop. That's what it's about, my friends.
You're awesome, my friend. God bless everybody. All right. We're out.
Okay.